I think the part that is most important is that we are all so accustomed to listening to somebody else tell us about what to do with our body because we're so good at that. We've done it our whole lives. Somebody has told us since we were a kid what to eat, and we followed every diet, and we followed it so well because we were following every rule. And then when we went to weigh in and it didn't work, and then we're like, but I did it. I did all the rules. I swear I followed everything. So now that we're grown-ups, and then we're like, okay, tell us what to do. I'll listen
Yeah.
to you. Okay, so I'm supposed to love my body now. Okay, all right, tell me how to love my body. All right, I'm going to do that perfectly because I'm just so good at all of this. And so we're just looking to the next person, and we don't know how to love ourselves like we don't know our own path.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become the best possible versions of themselves and to strive for overall health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, all of the healths, without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who've been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time somebody shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't done that in a while. Usually I hit record now and just go. I'm back with Jen, and we're gonna have a little conversation.
Hi.
Specifically, well, I mean, I'm sure it'll be natural and organic, but we were actually talking the other day about how intuitive eating and body positivity and health at every size, all of those movements and ideas have been twisted into something they're not. And in my opinion, some of these ideas have been twisted into like cult-like groups.
I think that's a great way to describe it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to hear your take on that first.
No, I think that's a great way to describe it because if you don't follow their rules, you're not included. And I think that's a really big problem because so if you go back to the beginning of how body positivity was started, it was to include bodies that weren't the typical white, thin body. So it was, to include bodies, people of color, bodies of different abilities, bodies of different size. So that's the original purpose. So
Hmm.
if you go back to that, then everybody should be included. And so I don't understand how we've gotten to this point where everybody can be included except people who want their bodies to look smaller. So that's to me, that's people who are dictating how people can look.
Right.
They're choosing for people how to look. So that's not the purpose of an inclusive movement.
Yeah. And to my understanding, body positivity includes all body shapes, even the super thin ones.
Right.
All body shapes and sizes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But if you want to change your body, I meant to look it up, but there's a body positivity coach. I don't know if she blocked me because I can't seem to find her anymore. But she had her whole thing is body grief. And so her thing is, like our whole lives we were taught to hate our bodies. And so by the time we're this age, then we have to mourn our bodies. And so we have this grief over our bodies. So I really like the premise. But I think it can also get a little bit too much if you're, like grieve your body and then be done with it.
mm,
With the work that we do with NLP, like do your work, let's talk about it, let's get it over with, but then like move on. But I feel like there's this body grief movement and it's like they dwell in it. And So, but to each their own, they can do their thing. But
Right.
for clients, I saw this whole thing she had that said, if you come to me and you say you want to change your body for health reasons, I will challenge you. And I mean, she had a whole chart. She did this whole chart about all the questions she would ask them to challenge them if they wanted to change their body for health reasons. And it was like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, why would you challenge anybody for saying that?
Yeah.
Why would you? I mean, like, I can't imagine going to any counselor and saying, I just decided I want to get healthy. And, this just means a lot to me. Well, why do you want to get healthy? Well, I don't know. I just felt like I want to live longer. Well, explain that to me. It would be the most ridiculous
Yeah.
conversation. Why would you have to prove that to somebody?
Yeah. No, I would understand if somebody came to me and said, I want to lose weight so I can look good. Well,
Right,
is it just that you want to look good or do you want to be healthy too? Oh, I don't care about health. I just want to look good.
right,
That's
right.
different.
Yeah.
But like, my whole thing is the phrase I use is train from the inside out. So like take care of what's going on inside of you first.
Hmm.
And my whole health adventure is like our habits, it's our behaviors. And yeah, it has nothing to do with the number on the scale. And it has nothing to do with how big or small you are. It's the behaviors that make you a healthy human being. And when you're taking care of yourself inside, it shows on the outside.
Hmm.
So like the aesthetic part of it is like a side effect of you getting healthy rather than the focus.
Right,
Does that
right.
make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I, I can also see, like, with what you're saying too, like if somebody came and said, I want to look better, well,
Mhm.
okay, according to whose standards. So if they said, I want to get healthy, well, whose standards, what does healthy mean? That's a fair question. What does health mean to you? Are you healthy or not? Have you checked your labs? Do you know if you're healthy? What are you looking for when you say health? That's a fine question.
Yeah.
But to really be challenged that much, over health is just ridiculous to like be like to where you're like trying to prove yourself. That's just too
Yeah.
much. And then like you're saying also, like, I know for me that the smaller that I've gotten, um, I think that like my sleep apnea went away and my spinal stenosis went away because the pressure from my belly relieved, the loss of my belly relieved the pressure on my back. And so like these changes that happened to my body, and they were so subtle and I didn't realize that they were happening, but they all relieved my body so much. And so like you're saying, these changes just sort of emanate, and then you just sort of are like different, like you don't even really
Yeah.
realize it, but your inside becomes your outside.
Yeah. And that can come in the form of weight loss. It can come in the form of your weight staying the same, but you still look completely different on the outside. And
Right.
for some people, it's they're starting to eat enough, and so they gain weight
Oh my
and
gosh.
they look healthier.
Yeah, totally.
So it's all about like the individual.
Yeah.
And well, let me ask you, what's your definition of health? Or like how do you know when you are your healthiest?
Well, I mean, for sure, it's for me, like it starts with getting my labs done. I mean, like I need to know what my blood results say.
Mhm.
So, that's number one. And that's hard because every doctor looks at the labs differently. And that makes me nuts because, one doctor can tell you that this B12 means this, and then another one will tell you it means this. So that gets really confusing. But yeah, I mean, I would start there. I think every person needs to have their labs looked at before anybody can talk to them about what their health is. So,
Yeah.
um, and, they need to have a doctor decide. And then that gets tricky too, because you need to have a doctor who understands metabolic health, instead of a doctor who's old school and says you need to go on a diet and you need to restrict your calories and you need to exercise more. So, that's hard too. That's hard to find a doctor like that in a lot of places. Yeah. So for me, that's health. And I can say that also, like, I had, you and I have talked about this, but when I found body positivity, I was trying so hard to be small and I was miserable. And I actually wrote about this morning. I had, yo-yoed my whole life. And then before I had my son, I had done fen-phen. And so I had dropped really low and then got, like this permission slip to eat, like you've talked about too, when I was pregnant. And so I just ballooned and my son was like 10 pounds. And, then when his dad and I divorced when he was 1 and I had had a C-section. And so the first guy that I was with after his dad, so horrible, but I like flashed I had like a towel on and I like flashed to be like sexy. And I just remember he like looked at my belly and I could see this look of disgust and he left the room. And then I went downstairs and he broke it off with me. And so, I mean, talk about getting a complex, right? Because,
a fucking asshole. Hold on for the listener. What a fucking asshole. Dickhead, fuck twat. Okay.
I know. And, I was like 29 years old and, like, now, of course, I'd be like, well, he's not the one for me. He's a fucking asshole. But, at that age, you're like, okay, so no one's ever going to love me again. Like, no one's ever going to be attracted to me again. All of my worst thoughts, all of the worst things that everybody has ever told me in my life, that my weight is what matters and I'm only lovable if I'm small. Hey, they're right. It was just verified. I saw it on his face and then he broke up with me. It's all true.
That's
so
devastating.
Devastating.
To give you a word, it's devastating.
Yeah, I watched it happen. So, I started dieting, started exercising. So, and then I got an actual tapeworm. So
yay, weight loss.
I know how lucky I was. And so I got down to, I don't know, like 170 pounds or something, which is a nice weight for me. And then I, of course, settled on the worst man because I just assumed that, no one was going to love me. But that's when somebody introduced me to body positivity at that point, because thank God, because she said, you're lovable like this. She's still my favorite person in the world. And she said, you're lovable. Go get a fucking donut. Go eat whatever the fuck you want. Read these books about intuitive eating. And she introduced me to Janine Roth's books about like, pull up a chair by the fridge and just eat. And I can't remember the name, but that's something like that. And I just laid in bed. My son was out of town and I just laid in bed and I read the books and I read the books and I read the books and I started eating and I grew, but I was so happy. And so, yeah, that was like game changing for me, that I started finally accepting myself. So, yeah, that is really important too. It was a mental health of, just that freedom of not obsessing anymore.
Yeah.
So that was such a gift. So yeah, that was really important. But then what happened was, so then I, learned about health at every size. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'm healthy at every size. But I wasn't, because then I got so sick, I almost died. And so I had to go to the hospital and stay there for quite some time. And then when I was done with that, then it was like, okay, how do we get well and eat? Like, how do I combine the two? I don't want to go on a diet to get well. I want to continue to eat and get well at the same time. And I would, thank God, 8 years ago, I found a doctor who was like, oh, no, 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 we're going to eat food. You're going to eat whatever you want. And you're going to eat carbs, fat, and protein at every meal. And we're going to get you healthy. And so that's what I've been doing for 8 years. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wanted to rewind a little bit with the health at every size. That's another one that gets, I keep wanting to say it gets twisted.
Yeah. It's
But
such.
it's I read the book Health at Every Size.
Mhm.
They talk about nutrition, they talk about movement, and from what I understood, and I could be wrong, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but what I understood was health at every size does not mean you are healthy at every size. It means anybody at any size can pursue health.
Right. Or also that it you could have two different people, like you could have a stack of, you could have 10 people in front of you of every different size, and you can't determine who's healthy or not just by looking at
Yes,
them.
exactly. Yeah.
So, again, you have to look at somebody's labs. You can't just be like, oh, that the fat person's the unhealthy one, the skinny one is the healthy one.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who's eating the Doritos and the Coke, but also maybe that person is healthy. We don't know. Like there's
Yeah.
other factors. So yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like you said, everybody can pursue health and yeah. Yeah. But it did get twisted. It's not like just sit around and you get to be healthy because, just because.
Yeah, and I think it's sad because there are the handful of people that think health at every size means, oh, I'm healthy at any size. And then those are the people that stand out the most as representing that movement.
Mhm.
And so then they're the ones that get bashed. And then what happens is the movement that has been twisted is getting bashed.
Right.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense? I was trying to like do the cycle in my head, but
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
and then what's happening too is that with the Ozempic and the Manjaro, those medicines are getting a really bad rap with all of those communities, with intuitive eating and health at every size. And the misinformation, like my thing, and I think we've talked about this too, is anytime you have an extreme opinion on anything, it can't be right. So if somebody's saying they're the best things ever or they're the worst things ever, you got to figure out where it is in the middle.
Mhm.
And so I've been on them for 8 years. I know what the side effects are. I know when I took Ozempic, I'd be walking my dog and I'd be barfing in a bush. Like I would
Mm.
just have to be like, hold on a minute, just like turn and barf. It was horrible. I couldn't do it. And for my daughter, she has the genetic disorder that you hear about, the MCR4. And so probably a lot, I think we've talked about this before too, but a lot of us have that, but we don't have it proven because it's an expensive DNA test, but
Mm.
it's becoming less expensive. So maybe more of us will be tested for it. But if you qualify for the test, like in a certain BMI and you can get the test for free. But anyway, so she's been verified for that variant. And so it's hard, like as a child, because it's not just about, oh, she gets bullied for her size. She has health issues. She has high blood pressure. She's 12. She has high blood pressure. She has high cholesterol. Um, what are the other side effects? I mean, she doesn't have PCOS, but we monitor her very closely. Every 3 months, she goes in and gets her blood drawn. It's a very thorough test. It's We do 4 blood draws each time we go in. Both of us do it. And we monitor, blood sugars and all of this stuff. But it's not just about external appearances. Metabolic health, it runs our whole entire body.
Yeah.
All of our organs rely on our metabolic health. And so it's a serious issue if your metabolism isn't working properly. And so, yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that. But, so she went on Ozempic and it was horrible for her. And so there's no reason you're going to keep a child on something that she's throwing up at school. So
Yeah.
we took her off. So then they tried, there's a pill form, and that still made her sick. So she's off of that. So she's limited because of her age. They limit what children can be on. So we have to figure out other solutions for her. But, it's a health issue. Like, it's, I get in my head and I'm like, oh, I don't want to make her feel like, oh, she's broken because her body looks different. But it's not that. She has issues. There's concerns. So, and the other thing too is, like, if you target these things before puberty hits, then you're in a much better position before or later. And so, for adulthood. So, yeah. So it's a challenge, but so we're just trying to figure out there's other medications that can be used instead of those ones. But the point being that these communities knock down these opportunities for people to go and get help before these people even question them with their doctors. And that's where I have a problem, because I know how effective they are. I know what they've done for me. I know how much they've changed my health in 8 years. And I know how important metabolic health is. So, and I know how much research there is. And it just frustrates me so much to hear them just bash these things, and they hold seminars and their information is wrong.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to discuss. So my regular listeners kind of know my story of how when I was 10 years old, my mom was in the midst of one of her eating disorder / disordered eating phases, and I was fatter than her. I was 10, she was 42. And she, in the midst of this disordered eating phase, she went on phentermine.
Mm.
And I begged her to let me go on phentermine
Mm.
because I had been taught through my programming that I take up too much space.
Mm.
My body's too big. I'm not valued unless I'm in a smaller body. So I begged her. And because she was getting pressure from my grandma, and those who have listened before, you guys know my grandma was my biggest bully. She took me to the doctor, and the doctor should have said no,
Mm-hmm.
but he said yes. And so I was put on phentermine, and then also separately I was put on Pondamin, which was supposed to help my sugar cravings. I didn't have sugar cravings, but they put me on that anyway. But when those two are mixed together, it created fen-phen, which was
Mm-hmm.
taken off the market because of all of the
Heart
health
issue.
issue, the heart issues it was causing.
Yeah.
So I preface all of that because I recently made a video that I haven't posted yet. It says, I don't know if you've seen those, get ready with me while I tell you all the reasons, blah, 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 and then they're
Yeah.
silent. I made a video, get ready with me while I tell you all the reasons why you should be putting your overweight child on weight loss medications. And then
Okay.
I'm silent the whole time. So I wanted to get your take on that because I think it's different with different situations. Like you said, your daughter actually has health metabolic issues. I was just emotionally eating as a child and getting bullied.
Yeah.
So I don't think the doctor should have said yes. And I don't blame my mom because she was getting pressure from my grandma.
Yeah.
And also, my mom, what I know about parents is they're doing the best they can for their kids with the information that they have.
Yeah.
So, regardless of how it's going to affect their children in the future, they
Hmm.
think they're doing the best for their child in that moment. So, I
Right.
can't, I've told my mom this before. I'm like, I have no hard feelings toward what happened, but it affected me going on weight loss pills when I was 10.
Yeah. 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 And my mom and I have those same conversations because she feels terrible too for, every diet she dragged me to.
Yeah.
um, but um, but yeah, that was what they knew how to do back then. And you know, it's interesting watching her because so I've told you about my doctor's podcast, Fat Science. So if any of
Mm.
your listeners want to check that out, Fat Science, it's so informative. She's so researched, and she like her pastime, like my pastime is reality TV, like Bravo TV, and her pastime is research. Like she feeds on it. And so, um, but the podcast, like I'll look at the title and I'll be like, oh, that sounds boring. And then it's like so good. Like I just eat it up. But she has so much information, and my mom's been listening to it, and she's so apologetic now about my childhood. And she's like eating sandwiches now. She's like, I love bread. I've always wanted to eat bread, and I wouldn't let myself do that. So she's getting it. So it's kind of nice. Um, I just pulled up these notes, but that talk about some of the things. So like one of the things about a genetic metabolic disorder is it's a genetic metabolic disorder. So
Right.
it, and then the other thing too is like we also the way that we dieted for so long, our bodies created a metabolic disorder. So if even if we didn't have one, we created one. So
Yeah.
we'll end up a lot of us will end up, how people will be like, oh, you're going to have to take that medicine. If you stop taking it, you're going to gain the weight back. Yeah, that's right. Because there's a lot of medicines that we take forever. Like people take diabetes, we take insulin, um, heart medication, you take blood pressure medication, you take medicines for the rest of your life. And that's how these are. So people have to shift their thinking about these. So my daughter and I have an issue, and we will take these medications for the rest of our lives. So um, then the GLP-1 medications, they make our metabolisms feel good, and they give our metabolisms this green light to feel secure. And so when our metabolisms feel like we're starving, like when we're not feeding them or we're exercising too much, or even if we think I'm going to go exercise, but I'm not going to feed myself before, our bodies start to feel insecure, and they're so smart that they know
Yeah.
that. And so they start holding on. And then our metabolisms slow down, and we're doing what we don't want to do. So then there's that whole thing about like the gastro paralysis that gets spread around, that people say that the medications give the bowel paralysis. And what that actually is gastroparesis. And that is that a lot of us have a slow emptying um, of our let's see, most people have like a rapid emptying of our gastro areas of our upper GI systems, but people like us that have a slow metabolism, it's slower. And so these medicines slow it down even more. And so then when you eat and you have the slowing of the upper GI, then that's why you get nauseous, because all of
Mm.
it's just slowing down even more. So but it's not paralysis. Oh, and then these medications, they mimic our natural body hormones. And so this whole rumor that they're just so different than us, that's not true either. They strengthen our metabolic feedback loop and they fix our glitches from our genetics. And you might be able to taper them, just like any other medicine. So, like, for example, I'm able to get off other medications that I'm on because I'm on this. So, medications that I've taken for years, now I don't have to take them anymore. And then the other thing too is that people are when they're prescribed the medications, they're prescribed them with diet and exercise, but they shouldn't be prescribed them that way because you're supposed to be prescribed them like this is your lifestyle. This is how you're going to live. Go eat cake, go eat cookies, because sometimes you're going to do that. Like live your life like you're going to live your life and eat your food and, don't even think about it. Eat healthy, whatever. But the doctors are saying, no, you have to go diet with these. And you're just doing the same thing that you've been doing all along and setting yourself up for failure because diets don't work and da, 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 da.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my whole spiel on that. But so as far as putting kids on medications, if you go at it, looking at it from a knowledgeable perspective with actual facts and science, then I feel like it's okay. Like I'm taking her to the top doctor in the whole world, who's the expert on metabolic science. So I feel really comfortable and safe doing it. And we talk about it all the time that this is why we're doing this. We want you to be healthy. This is what health is. Sometimes there's like a struggle, like we were walking this weekend, I think I told you, and she said, you look cute and it's making me mad.
Mm.
And I said, I don't know what to say about that. And she said, so she'll do a lot of comparing of us. And, and so I just said, well, I've been going to Dr. Cooper longer than you, and I'm able to take medications you're not able to take. And so the process is just faster for me. And, we've been in like the dressing room before, and I'll see her looking at herself and she'll grab her stomach angrily. And I took some pictures of her this weekend and she wasn't happy with them. And, of course, I think she just looks gorgeous and beautiful, and she just sees something different when she looks at them.
Yeah.
And so, it's hard. It's hard. Like you don't know where these ideals come from because they're not coming from me. Because even though my body has changed, it's never been about that for me. So it's never been like, oh gosh, look, I'm getting smaller and smaller. Yay. That's not what our conversation is like at home. So it's definitely coming from outside of the house.
Yeah.
Except people do comment all the time when they see me about, how different I look and how great I look. So she hears that a lot, but yeah, I don't know. Am I answering your question?
Yeah, and I like that I like the perspective you're going at it from. If that's the right way to say it. Like the way you explained that you're taking her to the top doctor, she actually has a metabolic disorder, which is completely different from my case. My case was I need to be smaller because I take up too much space.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was put on weight loss medication. So I think my mind fuckery just came from that being told that I'm not valued because I'm in a bigger body.
Yeah.
Which is 100% like I didn't have a metabolic no, I didn't have I was emotionally eating because my parents got divorced and I was sad. But of course back then I didn't know I was emotionally eating. I was just eating. I didn't know emotional eating was a thing.
Yeah.
So
But you also don't know. I mean, the craving to eat emotionally,
mhm.
you don't really know like why your body was doing that. There could be science behind that.
Yeah.
like there could be a scientific reason that your body chose to do that. There's just so much we don't understand about the metabolism that makes us do things. Like we think so much of it is our fault, or, oh, I was just doing that because. But emotional eating really does happen because something is triggered within our brain, and our hormones are, they're all firing in different ways. And it's like, oh, that's going to make me want to do that, and
Yeah.
it can all just be controlled with medicine.
Yeah.
It's really
And it's
wild.
all a protection mechanism. Our
Exactly.
bodies are protecting us from something or giving us a band-aid.
Yeah. And that's the coolest thing that I've learned. Like that's the thing that I love so much is that, and we've talked about this, but the body is so great to us. It's like just constantly watching out for us. And even when it's doing what we don't want it to do, it's actually doing what it should be doing in the
Mhm.
most loving way. And I'm so grateful to it, even though, I would, in the past think, oh gosh, it's, gaining weight and I'm so mad at it. But it was doing that because it loved me so much.
Yeah.
It's taking care of me. It's
Yeah.
really phenomenal. Yeah.
So I think what we get from this entire conversation is what we were talking about the other day is the whole point is body autonomy.
Yes.
I lost my train of thought. I had a thought, like it fucking went away.
I made a post this morning on my Instagram that was, it said, you totally believe and agree that, bodies are beautiful at every size. So you can't understand why you keep thinking about a plastic surgeon just cutting off that extra piece of fat that hangs over your badge. um, and then it talks about how, it's conflicting, you have these conflicting thoughts, but it's okay that, you love your body, but you also want it to look different too. And it's your body.
Yeah.
And, it's okay to feel different about it. Like it's, but it's
Yeah.
the autonomy. So somebody might tell you that you shouldn't feel that way about it, but if you do, you do.
Yeah. I've never been against anyone who wants a boob job because
Yeah.
if it boosts your confidence, I say go for it. You
Yeah.
know,
Let
if
me
you
tell
want a
you,
tummy tuck, go for it. If
the
you
boob
okay,
job.
so here's what I've been saying lately. Because we're talking about how the intuitive eating space has that whole extreme side where, somebody posts a healthy recipe and they just get fucking bashed, right? So anytime anybody talks about weight loss, now I understand you don't want to be going on your page saying, here's how I used intuitive eating to lose weight.
Right.
Because intuitive eating, like the whole concept in the book, is a weight neutral approach, right?
Yeah.
So what I've been doing because of the body autonomy thing is if you want to lose weight, don't go for one number. Go for a weight range because your body is never going to hit a goal weight and stay there the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I'm going to go take a shit after we're done and I'm going to
Yeah.
lose a couple pounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It
So,
reminds, my mom had come out one day and was like, I lost a quarter of a pound or like a third of a pound. And my best friend was like, did she shart? It's like, how do you know? Like a third of a
yeah,
pound, like an ounce? Like, it was like, that is a
yeah.
shart. Um,
But
yeah,
when we're programmed like that, we're hyper focused on that number and that 0.6, that
yes,
counts.
yes,
But let me take
totally.
off my shoes so that it's not 0.6.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Oh God, it's horrible. I will say that about my daughter, because this I've done right. When she has to get weighed, she just gets on the scale. She doesn't give a fuck. She just keeps her shoes on, her coat on. Like she doesn't peep. I like all those things that I still do after all these years. I'm like, I need to run to the bathroom. Like, who
hmm
cares? Like, it doesn't matter. but she doesn't care. Like she doesn't have any of those quirks in her head because I
Mm,
haven't given them to her or whatever. So that's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So,
remember when I was obsessively weighing myself every day, and it had to be in the morning after I took a shit, after I peed, and naked
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
because it has to just be that way. That's how
I
it has
would
to.
never do it before a shit. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
I know, right?
No. Uh-uh.
Or I would do my morning dump and then weigh myself, go have a sip of coffee, and like, oh, I wasn't done pooping. So let me go back at the rest out and weigh myself again.
Ah, how much is that
How
worth?
much did I lose?
Yeah.
I was thinking of making this video. This is on my content ideas is like just taking a video of me taking a sip of water and be like, I just gained weight. And then like
Yes.
skipping it to me flushing the toilet, I just lost weight.
Totally. That's so funny. You should.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I did one recently because we had the stomach flu and it was like so sick. It crossed my mind that I was like, oh, I'm losing weight because that was so much my childhood that my mom would be like, well, silver lining, you're losing weight. And then she would be like, but you got to keep it off. Like that's the hard part is that, people always gain it back after the flu. Well,
Yeah.
because it's not
So
weight.
so don't hydrate yourself after you're done being sick, okay? Don't drink any
Right.
water.
Yeah, and let's go catch it again so we can lose some more. I mean, it's so sick. But at least like I caught myself and was like, oh, that's gross, like don't think like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I mean, it's so deep. It's so deep. And all this work that I've done, and it was like still there. Yeah, but the body autonomy, yeah. I think I think the part that is most important is that we are all so accustomed to listening to somebody else tell us about what to do with our body because we're so good at that. We've done it our whole lives. Somebody has told us since we were a kid what to eat, and we followed every diet and we followed it so well because we were following every rule. And then when we went to weigh in and it didn't work, and then we were like, but I did it. I did all the rules. I swear I followed everything. So now that we're grown-ups, and then we're like, okay, tell us what to do. I'll listen
Yeah.
to you. Okay, so I'm supposed to love my body now. Okay, all right, tell me how to love my body. All right, I'm going to do that perfectly because I'm just so good at all of this. And so we're just looking to the next person and we don't know how to love ourselves like we don't know our own path. And so
Yeah.
that's what I really want to teach people. Like that's what I want is like I'm gonna be here to guide you. I'm not
Mhm.
going to tell you how to carve your own path, but I'll be beside you to help you learn how to make your own path.
Yeah. And there's also that element of self-trust. Like
Yes.
one of my clients right now, she's all for like learning intuitive eating. She's all for learning how to move her body in ways that she enjoys. And she'll still say, "Well, I still need tell me what to do with eating."
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because she does, well, it's part of it is because she hasn't learned yet how to listen to her own body.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is because she's been on so many diets that have failed and she still blames herself, and therefore there's a lack of self-trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're working with that right now.
Yeah. That's so hard. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember, like the first time that my doctor was like, go get a donut. And I was like, what? But
Fuck.
then what?
I'm all the fuck.
Yeah.
Get a donut.
Yeah. But then you have to decide like, the next step is like, do I like donuts?
Mm-hmm.
And like, what kind of donut do I like? And does a donut sound good today? And how do I feel after I eat the donut? And then what would I rather than the donut? Like, I don't know, does pizza sound better? Like, do I want something sweet or do I want something? So like there's all these steps of like actually figuring out what kind of food you even like. And
Mm-hmm.
like for years, everything was birthday cake for me. And then I found at Fred Meyer. I don't know if you have Fred Meyer, but like a Safeway or
Mm-mm.
whatever. They had like pieces, they sell like individual birthday cake. So I could get that whenever I wanted. I could go get a piece of birthday cake. And now it just disgusts me. Like I do not want a piece of birthday cake, but I wore it out, like I got
Habituation.
what?
Habituation is
Yes,
the
habituation.
scientific fancy term for that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like and like I don't want like M&Ms. Like I don't Halloween candy does nothing for me. Like so you've once you kind of like allow like those things, my brother and I would like make a wish to have those things. Like if we got a wish to make, that's what we
Yeah.
wish for. And now I could care less about them. So but like all I want is like a scallop with some garlic, like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
I love well, I was gonna say I love those days when I don't actually love them, but I still have days where I'll eat nothing but quote unquote crap.
Uh-huh.
Things that are not nutritionally dense. And if I go a couple days eating like that, my body is like, you need a crispy, crunchy salad.
Yeah.
And I will crave a salad. And I think that's part of like paying attention, like your body's saying, okay, this food tastes good, but I don't like it. Give me something with nutrients in it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. For
scallop and garlic.
I know it just sounds really
Yeah.
good.
I'm drooling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tonight I'm going on a date to a Thai place and I've already decided they
Mm,
have like crispy rolls. I'm getting
mm,
those.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday, my son and I have hash brown Wednesdays,
Oh.
and we go to Carl's Jr. and get hash browns, and I
Oh,
get a breakfast burger. Um, and I do that partially because I don't want him to think that I demonize fast food because I don't, and it's like something he looks forward to. Um, and I had a point. I was going somewhere, but sometimes I eat half of it. And then there's days like today where I ate all of it because I know that on Monday I did a really not hard workout, but I lifted more weight than I usually do, which was really cool for me because my whole goal is to be strong as fuck. Um, and that made me hungry. So I ate an entire breakfast burger and a whole large ass hash browns and guilt free.
Isn't it Wednesday that you get hungry?
Yes, every Wednesday I'm hungrier.
So do you feel hungry today?
I'm hungry now and I just finished my meal. Well, I finished it at 7:30, so I guess it's been a while.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting.
crazy. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you know what's funny about your chair? The way that your tank top is where your chair is, you look like you're at your favorite place, Magic
Magic
Mountain.
Mountain.
Yeah. You look like you're like buckled in for a ride.
That's funny. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
My next grown-up trip is May 3rd. I'll be going by
Oh,
myself.
it's soon.
Yeah. I
Yay.
I have it scheduled in once a month now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's so
Well, the
sweet.
grown-up trip.
Yeah.
I go often with Des, but it's different when you're with a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway,
All right.
this was a good conversation. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I needed it because
Yeah.
I can admit to your audience that I've been having difficult thoughts
Yeah.
lately.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so that it's, as far as we come, sometimes we can all go backward. And I
Yeah.
don't, I am on prednisone right now for my rheumatoid arthritis. And I do wonder, I was talking to my best friend about it, and we were thinking that maybe that's messing with my head a little bit. Um,
Mm.
that's making me um,
Moody.
just, well, it's definitely making me moody. Yeah, there's some people around town that I feel bad for, but yesterday this woman, I took my dog and my dog is licensed as a pet, whatever, but I took him into the Trader Joe's, and two people were like, you can't have pets in here, and I was like, he is an emotional support dog, and the second one, was like, and you're not allowed to ask about it. And she was like, oh, okay. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, I'm wondering if the prednisone possibly is making me, because you know how we talked about like that it makes you want to eat more.
Yeah.
Um, but maybe it's also making me, because it's making me feel like that, then maybe it's making me not, I know it what it is. It's making me not feel as intuitive um
Mm.
about my eating. So like I'd feel less connected to my that trigger we were talking about.
Yeah.
That's what
Like
it
the
is.
mind body connection.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what it is. And so it's giving me feelings of like I can't trust myself.
Yeah. And that's thank you for sharing that with the listeners because a lot of people compare themselves to our adventure that we've already gone on. Like I'm 4 or 5 years into healing my relationship with food. And I still sometimes am like, but I looked so hot when I was that thin. And then I remember all the things I did to get that thin.
Yeah.
And when I was that thin, I hated my body. So it's like this constant reminder. And I think part of the healing is that we're able to remind ourselves of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely been an eye opener this week to remember how my clients feel. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, like, like ordering food or eating food or thinking about food. But I have not thought this way about food in, 12 years. Like I eat whatever I want. Like yesterday, I went to the gas station. I will always go into the gas station and get whatever I want. I don't care. I don't care. Whatever I want. I'll get a soda, I'll get chips, whatever. I do not think about it. And I
Mm.
literally I was on the phone with my best friend and I like stopped myself and I was like, what am I going to get in there? What would I get? I better not do that. Where did
Hmm.
that come from?
Yeah. Especially after 12 years.
Yes. Where
Yeah.
did that come from? I was shocked but I caught it. I mean, at least I caught it, but I don't have those thoughts. I don't question what I eat ever. I never worry about it. I trust myself to go get whatever I want. I have a few bites or I finish the whole thing, like you said, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So then I I ended up not going in. I don't remember. I think because of my dog, but whatever. I just whatever it was. But yeah, I digress. But yeah, that was a fucked up feeling.
Yeah.
So I got a little work to do right now.
Yeah. I'm happy to help. I know a really good coach. Her name's
Yeah,
Katie.
she is a good coach. She's my coach.
Yay.
All right. Well, thank
I
you. Oh,
I
go
have
ahead.
another question for you. I know I asked you in
Oh,
the last time you were here, but sometimes it changes.
okay.
If you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
It's always to trust your instincts. I think that's always listening to your heart. And um, sometimes we just get so far away from that. But if you really, quiet yourself down, I'm just sitting here in my head going, oh, I better go do that right now and figure out what's going on with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Just
sometimes
trust
you
your gut.
forget. But I think that's the biggest advice. And that's what I would tell my kids too, is just we always have the answers inside ourselves. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things too with this body autonomy thing is that we're always looking for somebody else to give us the answer. And we already have, this is the post I made yesterday. We keep seeking out the next book and the next podcast and, all these, the next thing. We already have all the information we need. We just have to use it and just put it into action. Like I said, if we bought a pack of seeds, you actually have to go plant them. But if they sit inside, they're just going to get dusty. So that's what we have to do with the information we have. We have it all in our hearts. We know it all. We just have to use it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Muscatel signing off.
Until next time.